Well, I think it's better. I think it's actually a lot more in focus, like better color and stuff. So fingers crossed that it is. And I think I could even walk it around so that it's, it'll stay in focus and stuff. I don't know if you could see it, the dangly dongly here. The microphone is cutting into the picture, but that's what happens when you got a big old long microphone. Gets in the way. All right, let's dig into some questions. Jerry's Alfred says, I hate everything on YouTube guitar related, but I don't hate your stuff. Great work. Man, that's so nice. I really appreciate all of the wonderful feedback and the help and support that my channel's been getting and the showing of love. So speaking of love and support, I put up that John Mayer $4,000 Bricasti reverb video, and Luau says placebo effect at its finest. $40 reverb sounds. $40. I've heard $40 reverb sounds, and they're not that great. They're not even fun. All right. Lou Lombardi, $4,000 for a reverb. Bullshit. Well, I actually don't disagree with you. $4,000 for a reverb? That's a lot. I had a nice reverb journey. The first reverb I had was an Alesis Quadverb, and that was all for guitar. And that thing was awesome. I'm going to have to get another one and try it. I haven't heard it in so long. When I got into writing for orchestra heavily, that's where reverb, the men from the boys are separated. You could get away with a crappy reverb on vocals and guitars, even drums and stuff. But an orchestra, woo, man, you cannot fake it. So I got a TC Electronics TC4000, and that was like, woo, it's super clear and realistic. I also feel like it's dry. I don't know why that's an adjective that comes to mind with TC reverbs traditionally. But I used that for a long time. But then I wanted more lush. And Bricasti had just come out. I was one of the first guys, I think, to get one. They actually came over to my studio and brought it. And it was like 4 seconds, 3 seconds. And we A-B'd up. Oh, okay. Well, how much does it cost, man? And at that point, when you're talking about your livelihood of like, can you be better than this guy? That's what it's worth, and I'll have it probably till the day I die. I don't think reverbs are going to get better. I mean, is any reverb better than a 480L? No, it's just a different flavor. So, the Bricasti, if you stretch out that cost over the course of my professional life, it's not so bad. Oh, it sucked paying for it, though, the first time. Yeah, man. Related, James Cassidy asks, can I ask you a question? Why are digital reverbs units like the Bricasti so hard or much harder to replicate in plugins? I use software reverbs like crazy. Actually, there's one, Seventh Heaven, that uses IRs out of Bricasti. I believe they're doing it in partnership. So when I want my Bricasti sound and I want 12 different ones or whatever, I could just pull that up. Is it the same? No. When I say better, I'll put up two sounds. Does the reverb marry itself to the sound? Does it sound true to, if you put up a hall, does it sound like a person in a hall? Or does it sound like the person singing, your audio, and a reverb back here happening? That's an issue that happens with plugin. You could have the Lexicon hardware and the Lexicon plugin that are supposed to be the same, but you miss that connective tissue. Why? I've asked the designers and everybody. The best I could get is they just can't allocate enough power that's consistent. So the Bricasti is filled with DSP chips that all it does is this, and it doesn't have to think about like, well, what if your computer's getting bogged down and needs to release resources, or things get moved around, or I don't know. Look, man, I'm not a scientist. I just tell you they're not the same. Chungaletta asks, what's your opinion on the Marshall JCM 2000? Yes, I like the JCM 2000. I used to, when we would play in clubs and stuff, if I could get a DSL, I was super happy. Now, here's the thing. If you have a 2-channel, there's classic gain and ultra gain. I hate the ultra gain. I think it sucks. Classic gain is phenomenal. And then there would be 2 modes. There would be clean and classic. And I just wish they had done clean in one channel and classic in the other. And then you're great. That's incredible. Stay on channel 1, get as much gain as you want, and then get some killer pedals and throw it in front of there. B Little asks, any chance you'll do some Friedman JEL, Jake E. Lee profiles? No. I think there's very little chance. Here's my thing. In case you don't know, I spend a lot of time making Kemper profiles. I've been doing this for years, since the thing came out. My initial idea was there's all this unobtainium rack gear that there's 12 made or 20 made or 50 made. You have to get a $3,000 power amp, a $2,000 preamp, then into speakers, and you have to have it set up right, and you have to dial it in right, and it's actually not always that easy to do. And who's got a big rack, especially 7 years ago? So I said big rack. So the Kemper is this beautiful gift that you could capture these unobtainiums and bring it with you, or I could play it at home, or I don't have to have everything set up at once. I could go, oh, do I just want to hear a Bogner Fish-ish thing today? And I could go back to my Bogner Fish, and then I could share that with people. And I know there's a lot of ethical kind of questions around it. Where I'm comfortable is things that are older, like 20 years old, or out of production, or only from the 80s and 90s. Things that just came out, absolutely not. And things that are kind of current, I have to really kind of look at and see. So with Dave, I know Dave is not a Kemper guy. I know there's thousands of Kemper profiles of his amps, and he doesn't love it. They're current production models, and some ways I think it kind of sucks. But I'm friends with Dave. If Dave ever comes around and wants to do official ones, I'm totally in. Hey, if anyone out there wants to do official ones, I'm in. I think mine are the best sounding, to be honest. Nightwalker asks, what are your favorite speakers? Well, 100% it's a Celestion Vintage 30. Without question, that's what my ear is completely dialed into. So any other speaker that comes along is like a Vintage 30, but darker. Like a Vintage 30, but less hyped. Whatever you want to call it. I can hang with greenbacks. I don't really love them. Now, a Lynchback, the short-lived Lynchback, which is like a high-powered greenback, I love. I have one of those in my Friedman Dirty Shirley 112 cab, and it sounds awesome. Awesome. Really, really awesome. But, I like the Eminences that are inside the VHT. I like the Jensens and some of my old Fenders. So whatever works. BizNacho7 says, seems like it's pretty secluded and the room's well isolated, but do the neighbors ever complain about the noise? For the most part, there's no bleed outside. In my control room, you don't hear anything because that's the most isolated thing. The live room, however, we just didn't have a lot of space, so we didn't isolate it as much. Live room wall, neighbor's bedroom. 100-watt head late at night is still, I don't think that's really cool, so I'll do that during the day, or the quieter stuff, I'll just keep it down a bit. It's fine. Welcome to Pretty Pictures with Michael Nielsen. In this segment, I'm just going to pick a couple pictures that I've seen on Reverb or eBay or things I was looking at that just blew me away. I was like, that looks so cool. I don't know if they're good or whatever, but dang, that looks cool. First up is an LSL Sadikoy. Now, I kind of have a soft spot for LSL because they're local boys. So it's funny because if I was to buy this guitar, it went from down the street to Seoul, Korea to back where I am down the street. But they call it the Sadikoy, and I lived right off of Sadikoy as a kid. That's where I grew up. So one day I'm going to have to get a Roscoe in Winnetka, which is where I lived. Tom Anderson drop top, of course. I mean, Tom Anderson has been making eye candy since I was in high school. Just everything. I used to carry around a Tom Anderson guitar catalog, and it had this drop top on the front with a honey burst thing, and I used to eat lunch and just look at that. So one day, you know, all the high-end guitar manufacturers have a sound. It may not be quickly apparent, but if you go Friedman Custom Shop, Fender Custom Shop, Sir, Tom Anderson, Grosh, like in my head, they all have a totally different vibe, even if they're all going to do a Strat or Super Strat. The Bad Cat two-tone preamp, that's pretty. And why it's pretty is because this guy polished off all the fingerprints, because most of those look terrible. Once you get all those scuffs and fingers jizz all over it, it's pretty rough. So this is a tube distortion pedal boost. To the best of my knowledge, it's essentially the same as the Matchless Hotbox and a variant on the Dirt Box from Matchless. They look the same layout from whatever, they sound the same. I don't know. I could be a little off. Maybe they made improvements. Hey guys, what day is it?
It's Nudie Magazine Day!
No, it's Vintage Guitar Magazine Day. Let's take a quick look through this. Look at this, boys and girls. We're going back in time, December 1986, GFTPM. Oh, so beautiful. Look at that axe. So that's a Grover Jackson made Mutant that apparently was barely hanging on by the end there. But what a legendary guitar. What a legendary shirt. Wowzers. DOD, that was the like little brother to Digitech, unless they were purchased by Digitech. But I mean, that was kind of all you could get your hands on as a young guitar player. Boss was out of the question. Shoot. And a $250 clon pedal? Impossible. Oh, baby Steve Stevens. What is happening here? Holy crud. Sexist. The best design, designed by Gibson engineers. That looks like a Kramer. All right, moving on. 1986, everybody. Oh, Hot Licks, yes. Hot Licks all day long. Oh, what's up? Look at this, 2 pages, 2 of my favorites. You got Steve Morse, who I absolutely love, rocking the craziest Whackballs Telly Strat hybrid thing ever. And the man, I've got one of those little, mine's beat up. He's working those shoes. Steve Ferris, whew. That hair takes work. Go watch the Tone Talk with Steve Ferris. That was awesome. Great player. Interesting guy. Bye. Oh, what a good picture. That is awesome. I haven't read this. I just opened this up, so I'll have to read it and see if there's anything really interesting. But what I would always do is go look for the gear. Where's the number sign so I could... Did he look for 100 watt, 50 watt? Where's the gear? There we go. The kitchen sink rack. I see you in the Carvin endorsement ads. Do you use them a lot? I used the Carvin throughout the record on a bunch of things. I also used a really nice Marshall that was modded by Lee Jackson, and a Jose amplifier, which was a Marshall modified by this guy in Hollywood named Jose. Everyone was in an ad for whatever amp they wanted, but ultimately they all ended up like using a Marshall. Awesome. I'll read through this. This is dope. Dope. Thank you guys for watching all this madness. I'm trying to piece together what could be fun to do on this. I'm definitely going to have some interviews. I'll have some guitar playing on it and stuff. So little things that are too short to put a video on. This is, I feel like, a good platform to do it. So we'll answer some questions. We'll look at guitar magazines. I'll show you a pedal here and there, or a technique, or something interesting, and maybe we'll get some interviews and get some friends to drop by. Guys, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Be well.